Sokka's like, all right, cool, I'll go hand him over. And I'm like, what?
Honestly though, with the changes that they've done and what we've seen of Sokka, it fits his character currently.
Yeah, but it doesn't fit the character from the show. That's not Sokka.
No, it's not Sokka, not at all. But like,
Sokka doesn't need an opportunity to be brave. He just is brave.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Flip the Scripts. I'm Ankit and Madhira.
And I'm Stephen Nieman.
And this week, we are starting our journey to talk about one of our favorite series of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's right. We're going into the Netflix series, not the M. Night Shyamalan film. People have talked about it enough. If you want to watch us talk about the M. Night Shyamalan film, we will after all 8 episodes, and it'll be up on our Patreon.
Woo, you're gonna make me watch that film?
Sorry, buddy. We gotta do it for Patreon listeners. They pay a little extra, so...
Look, you're not wrong. They deserve it. But, like, I don't want to. I've spent so long denying it exists.
Listen. They deserve it, but we need to give it to them. I know we don't deserve it, but they deserve it.
They deserve our complaining, apparently. So
yeah.
If you want to hear that, go sign up for the Patreon. But we're gonna talk about the Netflix series that just came out earlier this year.
So this is a bit new for us. So this is the first time Ankit and I have done a series on this show. This is the first time Ankit and I have done a TV show to, well, animated TV show to live action TV show kind of comparison as well. So this is all new. So do not worry. Do not freak out. It'll all be good.
I'm freaking out, Steven. I'm freaking out. I don't know what's happening. I'm freaking out.
It's okay. So we're kind of combining a bunch of segments into one episode. We will rate every single episode at the end of every episode. So at the end of this episode, we will rate it just like we do with our normal stuff. So it's no longer 2 episodes per thing. It's now 1 episode per episode of the Avatar. So if you want to watch with us, watch the next episode before next week. So there you go.
Woo! It's going to take us 8 weeks to get through this TV series, season 1, because there are 8 episodes. So
yeah, and if you guys, we might take a break and hop into another one-shot in the middle, or we might just keep going on Avatar. We'll decide as we go.
We'll let you know. Don't worry. If you want to find out information of what's coming up, you can always check our Instagram, Flip the Scripts Pod on Instagram, and you can also follow Co-op Forge, CO_OPFORGE on all the platforms, as long as TikTok is still available.
Yeah, hopefully. It's on the president's desk as we speak.
Yes, it is the end of April as we are speaking about this.
Yeah, and this won't be posted till May?
I don't know. I've lost track. End of May.
End of May. Yeah, because the Shining's the 2 weeks in the middle of May.
Yes.
And then we're after the Shining.
That
now.
tracks. Yeah. All right, so Avatar. Let's...
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let's get into
Netflix series. So
Netflix
I got some fun
series.
facts.
Fun facts.
Now,
go on, kid.
Ladies and gentlemen, with this series, it's a bit different because only IMDb gives us a rating for every single episode. Rotten Tomatoes does not. So I'll go over the Rotten Tomatoes score at the end of the whole thing. Obviously, if you are curious, feel free, look it up. But I'm going to divulge that information at the end of our journey through this series. But going through, episode 1 is titled Aang. And the director was Michael Goi. Goi. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. And the writers are Albert Kim, Michael Dante DiMartino, and Brian Konietzko? Koniietzko. Again, I'm sorry.
The original writers.
I'm butchering names. Yeah, I'm just bad at... I always just know them as Michael and Brian. I don't know...
It's fine. Michael and Brian are on the writing. Name. Michael and Brian are on the writing staff, except I did hear they left the Netflix series in the middle of production.
Yes. So I think that they might be on the writing staff for the first few episodes, and they might not be later. We will see. I
Yeah.
don't know. We don't know how much. I do know that they left at a point in the production process.
There might be reasons for that, and we'll find out if the reasons are justified.
Yeah, I have thoughts. Now,
Me
before
too.
we get into Steven's fun question for this episode, the IMDb rating for this episode is a 7.4 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's deserved. Yeah.
Yeah. The budget, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the same, but I'll just let you know real quickly. It was 120 million for the whole 8-episode season, which comes down to about 15 million per episode.
Which I don't know if that's high or low for a TV show, to be fair, on budgets, because we've never done a TV show before. I know like Game of Thrones was doing like $1 billion per episode back in the day.
Right. I would assume it's pretty high for an 8-episode season, because Game of Thrones had lots of episodes in a season, right?
The last season was 7 episodes. And
okay, we don't need to talk about the last season.
No, but that was the one that they spent $1 billion per episode. It didn't show, but they did spend $1 billion per episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't put this together, mainly on all the podcasts here on Co-op Forge, we just bash the Game of Thrones Season 8. I haven't even seen it. I just know that it's bad.
I mean, it's bad. No one can justify it. I don't think anybody can. Nobody does. The actors who are in it don't even justify it.
That's fair. That's sad.
Like Emilia Clarke came out after it was filmed and was like, yeah, well, that's the end of Game of Thrones.
Sorry, guys. You deserve better. Literally. I was given a script. I read the lines.
We did deserve a lot better. They were trying to go get their own Star Wars. They were like, let's finish this off so we can go do Star Wars. And then Disney turned around and said, that was a failure. You don't get Star Wars now.
Sure.
So make sure you get your job offers in writing, everyone.
Fair enough. Cool. What's your fun question for this episode, Stephen?
So my fun question is based off of the Avatar franchise, as you know. So what is your element? So if you were a bender in the Avatar series, what would be your element? And you can't say the Avatar because that's cheating.
Yeah, no, I would be a firebender, but I'd like to think that I'm more like Iroh for anyone who has seen the whole series.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
A firebender. I think I'm more of like a waterbender because I can be going with the flow, but then also I can be ferocious. So, I don't know.
Fair. Having lived with you, Earth.
Earth? Fair. Immovable?
I'd say that you're an earthbender.
Having lived with you, I would say, yeah, you're a firebender.
Like, I know.
Fair. So,
I've accepted this.
For those who've never seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, just giving you a little DL of what it's about. So, it's in a world where there are 4 main elements: earth, water, fire, and air. And there's a person named the Avatar that can bend all 4 elements. Their job is to bring balance to the world. There's this main character, his name is Aang. He's been trapped in the iceberg for over 100 years and wakes up in the middle of a war that is caused by the Fire Nation. That is the premise of the show. We spent 3 seasons with our main characters. We're only talking about the first season, by the way, in these next 8 episodes. So if they do a second season, we'll hop into the second season, which is probably one of my favorite seasons. I think it's
renewed.
So, but Aang and his friends have to try to go save the world, and it is a masterpiece of episodic nature. And that is what Avatar: The Last Airbender is about.
Beautiful. It's lovely. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, so here we are, jumping into Netflix's live-action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which they remind you at the beginning of every episode it is made by Netflix.
I'm not gonna lie, I've only seen the first episode so far, so like I don't know.
Fair.
It doesn't surprise me though.
The show opens up with a comet and over a capital city of the Fire Nation. Now, my question about that comet, is that Sozin's comet? Because that means everything in this first bit of pre-episode happens in one day.
Yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. Because Sozin's comet's only supposed to come by for a day.
Isn't
Like
it like
one
only
night.
like a couple hours? Like I remember like the Sozin's Comet episode, and I
It's
feel
like
like
6 hours. It's like six
6 hours.
hours or
Yeah,
something like that. Like you can think at most it's 24 hours, right? Like it's
fair.
around for a day, right?
Yeah.
It's in orbit of our world for a day.
So then we cut to this guy, and this guy's running with a scroll, and he's running and running and running and running, and he's getting chased down by these firebenders. They're like, "Stop!" And he uses earth bending, and now, well, I will say the bending in the show looks good.
Yeah, I
I know
will
where the
say,
budget
yeah.
went. The bending for the show
they,
looks immaculate.
they saw the film and they were like, look, if we're gonna make mistakes, it can't be that one.
No, the bending of the film is like but the bending of this looks really good.
No, the bending is like believable. It still seems like it is based in martial arts like it is in the original series. Like you can see the martial arts that are going into it, even in just the few bending styles that we've seen so far. Like even just between the firebender and this earthbender, like you can
Yeah.
see that they're fighting in different styles. So like very cool.
So the guy sacrifices himself because he's trying to get to these emus to hop on the what are those animals called? I forgot the name of them. I know Zuko rode one around in Zuko Alone in that episode in season 2.
I'll look it up real quick because I'm blanking. Keep talking.
So he's running to his earthbender friend who's like, "Come on, let's go." And he, he's not going to make it. So he sacrifices himself and he shoots the scroll to his friend with earthbending. It's dope, and he's like, "I'm going to fight to the death," cuz earthbenders, they stand their ground.
Yeah, and
Really?
his friend runs away on an ostrich horse.
Ostrich horse, that's the name of it. So his friend runs away with the scroll, and I'm like, this is cool. This obviously is not in the cartoon at all, keep in mind, but old and new. When you revisit this franchise, you need old and new. This is new stuff. I like it. It's this idea that Sozin's plan was trying to be foiled before it happened. But like, maybe it was a bit weird for me because I like the idea that only the Fire Nation knew it was going to happen, and Roku was like the only one who tried to stop it.
I didn't mind it because of the scene that happens next.
Yeah, well, this is what I felt before that scene.
Right. Yeah.
So
as this scene was happening, I was like, why is this going on? And then I was like, oh, okay, like this scene completely like justifiable after this scene. So yeah.
So he gets brought to Fire Lord Sozin, which I'm like, cool. We meet the big bad. Well, he's not the big bad of the show, but we meet the grandfather of the father of the big bad. No, grandfather. Grandfather of the big bad, and we meet the great grandfather of our favorite character. Well, my favorite character, and
you can't keep alluding to things that happen in later seasons, Steven. That's not gonna work.
No, we know that Sozin is the grandfather of the Fire Lord Uskaren, and the son is Zuko.
Oh yeah, no, I know that.
Like, that's not alluding to anything. I'm just saying that Sozin is the ancestor of Zuko, who's the prince of the Fire Nation.
That's fair.
So they're there. Sozin's like, ha ha ha. That was a plan. It was a diversion. We're not actually going to attack the Earth Kingdom. And he's like, wait, what? And he kills the guy with some really cool firebending that I was like, dang, that was dark.
I really like that the Netflix series has leaned into the darkness and isn't afraid to show us the darkness.
Yeah. And then he's like, our plans are to kill the air nomads. And he's like, why do you want to kill them? They're not going to be a threat. And then he explains to everyone, well, it's because the Avatar is among them. So we need to massacre every single one of them because they haven't revealed who the Avatar is.
Right. I have an issue with this, but Kyoshi explained some stuff. But pretty much, ladies and gentlemen, it's not spoiling anything because we learned this very soon. The Avatar cycle, the way that it works is if the Avatar is killed, he gets reincarnated into the next element. So if he kills all the airbenders, the Avatar is just going to get reincarnated into a waterbender.
So yeah, but I think that was their next plan. Like if Sozin's plan actually worked, he would have killed the air nomads, then the water tribes. Because remember, the water tribes were already being weakened by by internal conflict that we learned about in Legend of Korra, in the history of the water tribe. But yes, so he could kill the air nomads, kill the Avatar, then kill the water tribe Avatar, then kill the Earth Kingdom Avatar, and then before they're mature enough, and then the Avatar would then be reborn into the Fire Nation, and then they'd win the war.
Okay, sure.
It sounds like a complicated as heck plan, and it is, but it was Sozin's plan.
Fair.
So then we cut to an opening sequence, and I will say I was hype. I was ready for this opening sequence. They saw Earth, Water, Fire, Air. And they explain the reincarnation of the Avatar. So they show, which I thought it was really interesting, because in the show, when they first show the TV show, they first show the entrance. It's Roku. They show Roku, who's the Avatar before Aang. They decided to show Kyoshi. I'm not mad about showing Kyoshi because I love Kyoshi, but also I was like, Roku's really important to the storytelling, so I don't know if they're gonna minus him at all.
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Aang's mentor.
Yeah, I really hope that they don't.
Me either. But it was cool to see Kyoshi and Roku and the past avatars and everything. I thought that was really fascinating. I said it looked great as well. So I was happy. So then we cut to the Southern Air Temple, and Aang is there on top of a building smiling. And I will say, this kid actor, he is a good Aang. He understands the joy that Aang has to have. I don't know. My problem so far, I will say, is for the rest of the episode, and I'll just say it now, there's a lot of the comedy of the original show that's missing that, to me, makes Avatar Last Airbender.
That's my problem with this episode, and hopefully it shows up in later episodes. But that's my problem with it as well, is that there's just no time to breathe. There's no lightness to it. Like, yes, we understand that we're at war, but what made the original so intriguing was, like, there were still a lot of comedic moments and a lot of, like, laugh out loud moments, and it was very fun and jovial and still lighthearted while tackling, like, hi, we're at war.
Yeah. So Aang then glides around the world. He looks like he's flying, which I'm like, Aang can't fly. He can glide, first of all, and he should have his glider. I don't know why they're like, he can glide around. Also, have his air scooter? I don't know. Like, that would have been cool. The thing that he's known for creating that made him an airbending master.
Yeah. That would have been fun to see.
Maybe the CGI budget was already too stretched and they couldn't make it.
Maybe they couldn't put the kid on an exercise ball and wheel him around for a bit, and then CGI in an air scooter. I don't know.
I just think it would have looked better, and it's less confusing to the lore than making him look like he's flying around, because that don't work for me.
Right.
So just so you know, airbenders can fly. That is very Legend rare. Of Korra. You have to release all of your things. Zahir does it. Watch season 3 of Legend of Korra. It's one of the only good ones. And watch. Yeah, you could basically watch 1 and 3 and you'll be happy. And skip 2. And yeah. So, but then they go down and you're like, we have to set up for the festival and all the air nomads are going to be here. And I'm like, what? What do you mean all the air nomads are going to be in one place? That makes no sense, because obviously we know Sozin's going to come and kill them all. Spoiler alert. But the air nomads were in all 4 different temples when it happened, and they even talk about it in the show, saying we're going to go to all 4 temples and kill them, because he attacked them simultaneously, because he needed to know which one had the avatar, because if he let the Avatar escape any of the one temples, his plan failed. He doesn't know what
Right.
temple they're at. Why does he still up to the southern one?
I don't know. I think this was a change just to make it easier for them to show it. Sozin could have still led the attack on the Southern Air Temple, but then all you needed was a line in there, where it didn't make sense for everyone to come. It was fine of just a few, and it's some of them are coming and whatnot, but it was cheap to make everyone come to the same place.
Yeah. So then Gyatso gets taken into a meeting where they're discussing Aang, and they're like, Aang has to live up to being the Avatar, and he needs to go train. And Gyatso's like, he's too young, he's all these things, and we need him to grow up more and take responsibility and learn all these things to become the Avatar that we need him to be. And no one listens to Gyatso.
Which happens in the original series a little later, but it does happen in the original series as well.
It does, and in the original series, Aang overhears this, and that's what causes Aang to run away. Aang is never told he's the Avatar. He learns it from that meeting that he overhears. Aang doesn't overhear this meeting in the live action?
No, he is told that he is the Avatar in the original series.
I remembered him being
no, because remember they show him all the toys.
But he doesn't understand that that's what it means.
Yeah, but then they explain that that's what that means.
Oh, they do. Yeah, never mind. You're right. Sorry. But part of that Aang listening in, though, it makes him run away is he doesn't want to be separated from Gyatso. That's his big motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't really... It's just a bit weird. Then Gyatso and Aang, he takes Aang to Yangchen, and he's like, you're going to be sent away, you're the Avatar, and that's when Aang learns he's the Avatar. That's the moment in live action he learns the Avatar. And he's like, Aang, there's going to be a possible war with the Fire Nation that you're going to have to stop. I have issues with this.
I do too.
Aang doesn't know a war is coming at all. When he wakes up 100 years later, he's like, what war? What are you talking about? I have friends in the Fire Nation. And to me, that is my biggest gripe with the show. It's like these showrunners didn't go, oh wait, Aang shouldn't know. Also, no one should know that the war is coming. No one should know that the Fire Nation is building an army. Right. They just knew they were industrializing.
The only thing in the original show was that the air nomads and the monks were just like, there are troubling signs, so we feel like we need to tell you earlier. We don't know what's coming, but you need to be prepared because there are signs, and these signs are telling us that troubling things. So it could be something they could see that they were industrializing, and that's what the signs were. So maybe that first scene still kind of makes a little bit of sense in the show. They don't fully know that the plan is for war, but they're just okay, why is the Fire Nation industrializing so much? Why are they doing that? Why are they going this direction? Those might be the signs. So they might have an inkling that the Fire Nation is wanting to start a war. But it's not just outwardly known the Fire Nation wants to start a war.
So then Gyatso is like, you will always be my friend, and that's a really emotional moment where they're like, we're always going to be friends, and I love it. I'm glad to see Gyatso in the first episode. It's really fun, and it does help with the later part of the episode. I won't spoil it until we get there. And then Aang is sitting on a rock, and Appa comes in, and he's like, I don't want to be the Avatar. Da, 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 da. This is true. Aang never wanted to be the Avatar. He just wanted to be a normal kid and have fun. And he doesn't want the responsibility. So he leaves with Appa, which isn't the reason he leaves. It's just weird. I like the fact that he left because he didn't want to be. It was more like he kind of wanted to see his responsibility, but he didn't need to say it. He didn't need to say it in the show. He kind of just did it. You get the same feeling from him doing it.
Right. You learn in a later episode, somewhere in the middle of season 1, that the main reason he ran away is that he didn't want to be separated from Gyatso. And he was like, all right, if I'm going to be separated, I'm going to go do it on my own. I'm not going to let the monks send me away. And the other thing that I didn't like is that Gyatso in the live action accepted that Aang had to be sent away and was like, yes, that's okay. But in the original, he tries to go to Aang, but Aang's run away at this point. And this is when Gyatso learns that he's run away, but he's like, Aang, I'm not going to let them send you away. I'm not going to let them take you away from me.
So as Aang is flying away, the Fire Nation is attacking. It's not
apparently
the same
everything has to happen on one night.
It's not the same day in the cartoon, keep in mind. Like, there are, like, we assume Sozin's comet came at least... Well, it doesn't make any sense, because Aang woke up exactly... What they say is Aang woke up exactly 100 years after he got frozen in the iceberg. So,
yeah,
it would have been 100... It would have been at least a month later, because I think the whole show happens in a month.
No. The whole show happens in, like... 6
it's less
months.
Than a year. 6 months. Okay.
It
should be
like,
6 months.
It's like 6 or 9 months because...
Yeah.
I mean, we'll learn this later in the season and we can explain a bit more of what's going on. But because of the whole timeline thing, if you remember in the original show, anyone who has seen the original show, you know exactly what we're talking about. Anyone who hasn't, that's why we're keeping it vague so that we don't accidentally spoil anything. But because of the whole timeline thing of when things are going to happen and what we learn a little later during that two-parter in the original, like the first two-parter that we get in the original, that gives me the idea that everything happens within about 6 to 9 months, less than a year.
Yeah. So, and now he's fighting now there's an Air Nomad versus Fire Nation battle. It's a really great battle. It's interesting, but we're going to cut straight ahead. We're going to just keep going. And then Aang gets caught in the storm.
Yeah, before we jump ahead, though, this whole fight, really well done. Again, it's one of the highlights of the show for me, is that they are leaning into the darkness that is... They're not afraid to show us charred bodies. They're not afraid to show us death. They're not afraid to show us this. And I really like that it's leaning into that. It's like, yeah, this isn't pretty. It's war.
So Aang gets caught in the storm as, more airbenders are dying, and Gyatso is protecting the children because that's what Gyatso does.
Good I don't job, know if that's
Gyatso. True in the cartoon, but it's a good idea.
Look,
in the live action.
I don't know if it's true in the cartoon, but it makes you feel like, aw, good guy Gyatso. I'm sorry for what's about to happen.
So Gyatso's fighting the firebenders, and he gets killed by Sozin, which I'm like, that's dark. Like, that's a new way to twist it. I think, we don't know that Sozin killed Gyatso, by the way, in the original series, but I think it's interesting to have Sozin kill him. Also, in the original series, Gyatso is supposed to kill at least 3 firebenders. He doesn't kill any of them, but I just want to point out that he was, as an airbender, he was ruthless. But they forgot. I guess they didn't want him to kill anybody. It's fine.
Okay, so here's the thing, is I really like that Sozin is the one that has to kill Gyatso. Like, nobody else is strong enough to get rid of Gyatso. It has to be Sozin.
Yeah, it has to be the Fire Lord himself.
It has to be the Fire Lord himself. I just wish that what we got to see the other airbenders do, which is be ruthless and kill people, Gyatso got to do as well. But also I understand, because it was like, Gyatso can't kill in front of the children. So,
You know what also would have been interesting? And I think I would have really loved it in this moment of the show. And this is just my own thought. This doesn't mean this isn't... I would have loved to see Fire Lord Azulon in the battle too. Like his son.
That would have been cool, but the thing that I would say to that is maybe he wasn't there because, Sozin didn't necessarily know that all the airbenders were going to be in one place.
That's
potentially.
True.
Right? So he might not have known. So he may have sent him on to a different air temple to lead the army there.
Fair. So that, everyone, on this dark note of Gyatso dying to Fire Lord Sozin, is where they probably killed the children that he was protecting as well.
Yeah, but we don't need to see that. We don't need to see that. No.
No. It's why there weren't children's bones in the original series either. we're going to cut back to... We're going to have a snack break, everyone. So this is our snack break we remembered this week. So yeah.
Yay! Well done, us.
Snack break. Go. Hi, this is Stephen. Thank you for watching Co-op Forge. If you like our content, wish to support our editing staff or all, please subscribe to our Patreon and link down below. You'll get bonus footage and many other fun activities out of it. In our description, you'll also find links to our social media, where we'll post about our new episodes. Flip the Scripts is every Friday. Seattle Across the Pond is every other Thursday. And Post Finale is posted every Wednesday. Thank you for watching. Now back to the main episode. And we're back.
Whee!
So, we're now cut to the actual first episode of the TV show. So all of that doesn't happen in the cartoon.
All of what we just talked about for the first 25 minutes of this episode, however long this is, none of that happens in the original show.
So Katara's bending a pole. She's not really good at bending. This is about true because,
my issue with this is that she's hiding in the ship.
Yeah, and no one's allowed to go in the ship.
That's my only issue with that right at the beginning is she's hiding in the ship.
Yeah. Also, the ship isn't there. The ship isn't right next to the village.
No, the ship is a good distance away.
It doesn't make... So, we cut to... Then she goes back into the town. She runs into Sokka. Yay! And Sokka's like, we gotta go fishing because no one could do anything but me. No one does anything right around here. And I'm like, all right, cool, Sokka. Yeah, you're the leader, but you actually respect your... I don't really like Sokka's character arc right now in this first episode. I'll explain more later. So
yeah. Sokka's my favorite character in the series as well, the original.
Yeah.
So... yeah.
They argue about duty while they're in the boat. And Sokka, in the cartoon, would have made a comment like, well, you women don't understand the men's duty because, he was very sexist in the original series. What I've heard is they've cut his sexism completely from the first from the show.
That's what I've understood.
Which, personally, I complain about because, listen... Yes, Sokka is sexist in the first bit of the show, but he learns that women actually mean something in his life, and he learns to not be sexist. He actually grows from it. So why would you cut an arc where someone can learn not to be something bad?
Right? Yeah, he has a flaw. He amends that flaw. And even in, the in the original series... he overcomes this flaw by the end of episode 4? It's not around for very long.
His other flaw of being a leader, a good leader, yes, that is his major flaw. But, why are you going to get rid of his flaw that actually does help his arc the most? He learns to respect all of the people that he leads. But, yeah, whatever. Okay, so they get caught in a current, and they end up on an island with a sphere. That's where Aang is trapped in ice. And then we cut to Zuko, who's drawing something.
Hold on, I have an issue with Aang in the ice.
Oh, do you? Isn't it supposed to be underground, not on top? Is that your issue? He says yes, everyone. Sorry, the dogs in India are just going crazy tonight.
Sorry.
So Katara, the boat is floating away. They're like, we need to get back to the village. We need the boat. And Katara's trying to waterbend the boat back to her. And she accidentally cracks the shell in which Aang is in. First of all, in the show, in the cartoon, Sokka makes a sexist comment about the boat disappearing and how women should never be drivers. The boat is completely destroyed by the rapids they were just in. So it's even more helpless. And she, with her waterbending, then cuts the shell that Aang was in.
And she does it out of anger.
So there's a beam that shoots out from the ice. Aang is there, and Zuko sees the beam. It's supposed to be this big moment. And Aang falls down and passes out. And they're like, we can't leave him. And the boat flies back, and Sokka catches the boat. And so they take the boat back to the village. That is not how they get back in the original cartoon. The boat is completely destroyed, as I said. Aang wakes up there, and the first thing Aang says is, do you want to go penguin sledding with me? Because he realizes where he is. And
Yeah,
he also
sees
realizes
ice and is like, penguins.
he also realizes how beautiful Katara is, which is a thing that they just kind of skip over. Also,
No. Aang's a 12-year-old. He's not allowed to have a crush.
he has I don't understand it. And then also in this moment, he's supposed to wake up. Like, he's supposed to be awake. Like, they wake him up on purpose so he doesn't die in hypothermia because he just was in ice for 100 years.
He's awake as well. Also, I really missed the part where Sokka just hits him with the end of his javelin, just like boink, boink, boink.
Yeah, I know. Also, then Aang's supposed to Aang jumps into like the cavern to go find Appa, and Appa's there, and he wakes Appa up, and it's supposed to be, yeah, Sky Bison, and they take Appa swimming back to the village.
This
and
is Appa, my flying bison.
Because Appa can't fly right now.
He's tired. It's been a while. This is Appa, my flying bison. This is Katara, my flying sister.
Exactly. Great joke. Cut out the show. So we cut back to Zuko's ship, and he's like, we have to go out. I saw the light. And I was like, well, let's not get it too ahead of ourselves. Let's not do this. And I'm like, Iroh's being more Iroh than ever, and I love it.
Dude, I love Iroh. They cast the perfect person for it.
Yeah. So we cut back to the village, and Aang's on a table, and one of the guys is like, is he dead? Who is he? And, they're all around him. I'm like, okay, that's actually some funny comedy. I'll give the show that. And Grandma's like, he's an airbender. And everyone's like, oh, no way. Airbenders are gone. And Katara's like, we should leave him alone and let him sleep. He goes to sleep clothed, and then we cut to something else. Then we cut back, and he now is not clothed in the next scene.
Yeah. What happened?
I don't know. So
I don't think anyone wants to know.
Then he runs out clothed, and he sees all the kids playing with snow, and he's like, I want to play. Gets hit with a snowball, and Sokka shows up. He's like, stay away from the enemy. Now, this is true. Aang was called an enemy by Sokka for the first bit of the first episode, so I like how they kept true to that.
Yeah, like Sokka doesn't fully trust him because he doesn't know who he is.
Also, I will say, just really quick on that when I talked about Iroh and Zuko talking about each other, there was one thing that wasn't mentioned that like really does bother me. It's the word honor. Zuko doesn't say the word honor at all in the first episode. I'm like, that's his whole arc in the first season. He wants his honor back. That's his whole arc in the show. He wants his honor back. Why isn't he saying the word honor? Like, you could say the word honor without people being like, honor. Like, it's fine. I understand it's a joke for us who maybe seen the whole show. But like, for people to understand Zuko's arc, it's all about him getting his honor back. He doesn't want. Yeah. He never wanted the throne. He doesn't want to be the King Fire Lord. He literally wants just his honor. He just wants to live in the Fire Nation again.
Yeah.
I don't understand
wants to
why
not be banished.
Exactly. So So Aang is like, hey, he's gonna go hang out with Katara. And he's like, oh, where's my flying bison? And he repeats the flying bison like 8 times. Because it's funny when you repeat something that somebody doesn't understand.
Sure.
It wasn't funny. It was not funny after like the 3rd time he said it.
Tedious.
So he flies up in the air and he tries to call Appa. He's calling for Appa. That's fine. Aang can float for a bit in the air. That was true. And then Aang uses a whistle to call Appa. Now, Aang does have a whistle to call Appa, but he doesn't get it in the first episode.
But he gets it later.
And also, Appa flies in. Appa shouldn't be able to fly right now at all. Because he's tired. And he has 5 stomachs.
He just woke up from a 100-year nap and like is a sleepy boy. He hasn't been fed in a while.
So they end up back in the tent, and Grandma does the opening crawl again. She's like, fire, earth, water, air. She does the whole thing again. And everyone's
like this scene.
Yeah, and she kind of goes, and they figure out that Aang was in ice for 100 years, and she says it. And my thing is, I like the fact that Katara is the one who figured out that Aang was 100 years in ice, and it's more of like,
yeah, and it's because he's not supposed to know about the war, and he's really confused. And Katara's
Yeah.
like, wait, like maybe I think it was more like 100 years because Aang's like, I don't know, maybe like a couple months, maybe. But it's like, no, like think about it. Like you don't know about the war. The war is 100 years old, so like that's the only explanation. But the problem here is that Aang knows that there's a war already.
Yeah. Then Zuko, we cut to Zuko. He's trying to lead his men. He's not good at it. Of course, he's not good. We already know this, but cool. And then I wrote, no penguin sledding? Come on, please. Like, why would you cut penguin sledding? It's one of the first.
Animal cruelty, apparently. Apparently, it's animal cruelty.
So, Katara and Aang, and then are talking about the Fire Nation attacked the village and the Southern Raiders. Aang says he has friends in the other nations, and she says the world is really segregated. I kind of like this idea of like the war caused people to like go into their own cliques and not work with each other, which is how the Fire Nation's been winning because they divide and conquer.
Right.
So then Aang's trying to, and then Iroh offers Zuko tea in the next scene to console about his punishment. And I'm like, yes,
Jasmine tea.
This is perfect clutch Iroh. I just love it. Every time he offers tea, I'm like, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I didn't have complaints about Iroh. I was like, yes, they have understood the assignment with Iroh.
Yeah. If they did it, people would have been mad, though. People are always mad about Iroh.
Dude, Iroh's... Iroh is one of the best characters. He's not my favorite character, but he is up there.
Yeah. So Aang and Katara are having a lesson about bending, where now Katara is like her whole goal is looking for a bending teacher, but that's not said in episode 1 at all. But that is her whole goal, which is why they want to go to the Northern Water Tribe anyway later in the season. I don't know if they say that in this season, but because right now the show's really weird. But Katara doesn't say that, but Katara is starting to learn a bit about. They learn under the Fire Nation ship again. Weird because they shouldn't be near there, and so there's no booby trap. There's no accidentally revealing the Fire Nation and everything. So, but he teaches her how to do a water bubble, which I'm like, she already knew how to do in the show by this point.
Because that's the first thing we see.
Yeah. So then they run back to the village because they see a boat coming with the Fire Nation, and they're like, the Fire Nation's coming, and Gramgram's like, he's the Avatar. But no one knew Aang was the Avatar until Zuko said something, and Aang came in and said, yes, I'm the Avatar to the world. And Gramgram was the one who said he should be banished because he's just an error. He's causing us issues.
Yeah, like I did not like how they changed Gramgram.
Yeah,
Gram.
So Aang never gets banished. He just gets to hide with the women and children, which I'm like, all right. Zuko then is at a gate and he says, hand over who I'm looking for, the person who doesn't belong, or I'll destroy the village. And Sokka's like, all right, cool, I'll go hand him over. And I'm like, what?
Honestly though, with the changes that they've done and what we've seen of Sokka, it fits his character currently.
Yeah, but it doesn't fit the character from the show. That's not Sokka.
No, it's not Sokka. Not at all. But like...
Sokka doesn't need an opportunity to be brave. He just is brave.
Yeah.
So Sokka goes to Aang and Katara and finally convinces him about hope and everything. Yeah, hope. And he goes to fight Zuko one-on-one. And Zuko's like, yeah, the glory of it will be amazing. Okay, cool.
That's
fighting a non-bender and you're going to get some glory. So Sokka just challenges Zuko and everyone watches Zuko and him fight. It's not a challenge. It's not an Agni Kai, if you will. We'll explain Agni Kai's hopefully in the next episode. So hopefully it's in the next episode.
It might be in episode 3.
He fights Choi, General Chow in the 4th episode of the show.
And that is true.
So
we'll find out.
No, episode 3 he fights General Cho because Aang's at the Art Temple and he's
Aang's at the Art. No, it's not Cho, it's Zhao. Don't be the weird waterbender guy from the end of season 1.
What was it? Admiral Choi, I'm here to defeat you. That's right, Zhao. Sorry, my bad. So Um, Osaka goes to fight and he loses epically. I was kind of sad about the fight though because Sokka puts up more in a fight in the show. He throws a boomerang at Zuko and the boomerang
Yeah,
gets
the
dodged and comes back and
boomerang's
hits him on the
completely
head.
cut out. Where's
The
his
boomerang is there. The boomerang was there. It's on his. He just didn't use it. It was there. It was on his. It was on his body.
He's literally known as the
boomerang's like the
boomerang
number-
guy.
Yeah. I put Aang then protects Sokka, but no boomerang. So Aang comes out, fights everyone, protects them, and then Zuko's like, "I'll kill the village if you don't come with me." And he's like, "All right, I'll go with you to protect everyone."
Which is not how it happens in the original. It's Aang sees the damage that could be done and is like, look, do you promise not to hurt anybody else if I willingly come with you? Zuko agrees to that, and then they leave.
Which to me means so much more. It's the fact that Aang can see damage that could be caused and he does everything in his power to stop it. He tries to be a hero.
Yeah.
Also, because Sokka keeps calling him like, "You're an avatar who abandoned us." Now, Sokka never said that to Aang ever. There are characters who say that to Aang, but Sokka never says it to Aang ever.
No, Sokka never says it. Literally, Sokka's fighting Zuko. It's not going well. Aang shows up and he's like, "Hey Sokka, hey Katara," and Sokka's just like, "Hey Aang,
Hi, Aang.
thanks for coming."
Yeah. So then they're like, "We have to go." Katara's like, "We have to go save him, Sokka." And Sokka walks up to this guy who we don't know the name of because he's not important, apparently. And he's like, "You have to run the drills. You have to protect the village." Da-da-da. He's like, "Come on, let's go save this weird kid," to Katara. And then she's like, "Yeah." I like it when Sokka said, "Let's go save your boyfriend." I really missed that line. I felt like it was a perfect
I wish
line.
they kept it. It's like, let's go save your boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend.
Exactly. So then they gonna go take a boat. Oh, then we cut back to the ship, and Aang's in jail. By the way, Aang never gets in the jail in the boat, but he's in jail.
Yeah,
in
he
the
just
TV
breaks
show.
free.
He just breaks free. And Iroh and him are having a conversation, and Iroh's like, "You want some jasmine tea?" And basically he's
It's
like,
very
"Yeah, I'm a friend of
calming.
yours." And Iroh's such a good, like, you see a good firebender now, and I kind of like this idea of, like, the goodness of Iroh already kind of being explained.
Yeah, like Aang asks him a question of like, why did the war start? Iroh gives him the answer of like, everyone thinks like it doesn't matter why it started at this point. It's just how do people think that it can end? And for the Fire Nation, they believe capturing you is the way to end the war. It's a means to an end of this war. And Aang's like, what do you think? And Iroh deflects by just saying, this has been a lovely chat. I'll send down some jasmine tea. It's quite calming.
So then Katara and Sokka to the rescue. They are on Appa flying. There's no Yip Yip. So Yip Yip is a thing that is in the original series. It's the only way to get Appa to fly. And Sokka's the one who figures it out to get Appa to fly to go rescue Aang.
Yeah, it's like, what did that kid say? Up, go, fly,
Yip Yip.
elevate. And then he's like, what did that weird kid say? Hup hup, wahoo, zip zap, yip yip. And then he's just like, he's flying!
Yeah, I kind of missed that part, and I kind of was just like, oh, that's really sad to cut.
Again,
Also
they
because
cut all the comedy. They cut all the comedy from this show.
So Aang then escapes, and he steals a journal from Zuko's room and a glider without being caught, by the way. He is caught in the series and fights Zuko in his room, but it's fine. And then he tries to fly away on his glider, and he does make it. He really does. And the fireballs are being shot everywhere, and Zuko hits him directly. And then he's falling, and Sokka catches him. And I'm like, that's cool. Also, there is a line that I appreciate where Aang calls Sokka the bravest warrior he's ever met, and I'm like, oh, that's there's the relationship we like from the show. So
yeah.
Sokka saves Aang.
It gives me hope for
hope.
the future of the show.
And then they fire another fireball at them, and Katara saves them with a big water wave, which she shouldn't be able to do yet because she's not a good bender yet.
Yeah.
In the show, the first two episodes focus on the breathing of bending. The fact that you inhale and then you're able to bend. And because Zuko's not really good at it, and it's what Iroh's trying to teach him. But they cut the lessons from that as well, which is weird. And Aang shows the power of breathing because he breathes in and shoots the fireball back at a mountain and then covers Zuko's ship and almost destroys the ship.
Yeah.
Also, he's supposed to go into the Avatar state. Like, there's a whole it's such a better action scene. There's no action scene in this. So Aang ends up on Appa, and they're like, where should we go? And they end up going to the Southern Air Temple. At the end of episode 1, they're like, we need to go to the Northern Water Tribe because Katara wants to learn waterbending. Sokka wants to just bash some Fire Nation skulls. And Aang's like, I want to have fun, but also we need to go to the Northern Water Tribe so I can learn waterbending. Because I'll become an Avatar slowly, but slowly. I still want to have fun and be a kid.
Yeah,
that's the end of the
12.
that's the end of the second episode. But that doesn't happen. They end up at a Southern Air Temple. I apologize. And they're supposed to have fun. They're supposed to play some airball, but it's all somber. The entire Air Temple thing is just him walking through destruction of the Air Temple. Aang doesn't know that they've been killed. He's supposed to discover it as he's there. He's supposed to walk into a hall of avatars. Like, there's so much that, like, the Fire Nation didn't destroy the temple. They just killed the inhabitants because they understood the power of the spiritual realm.
They didn't destroy the temple at all.
Because Sozin understands if you destroy a temple and the spiritual stuff, the spirits come after your nation.
He's like, I don't need to fight the spirits. I just need to kill the humans.
So Aang walks over and finds Gyatso's dead body. And then goes in the Avatar state, freaks out. He almost kills Katara and Sokka. Sokka then, Katara tries to calm him down, is screaming up at him. It was the memories of Gyatso that actually calms him down. Now, in the show, in the cartoon, Katara is the one who brings him back down from the Avatar state, which is a consistent
she tells
thing.
him, like, hey, it's like, I know how hard it is. They were your family. You lost your family, but now you have a new family. Like, Sokka and I are your new family, and we're not, gonna let anything happen to you. We're here for you. Like, you may have lost them, but you found a new family. Like, it's okay. Like, calms him down.
There's one more issue I have with the Southern Air Temple, and this is the big one.
Mm-hmm. Is it the same
Where's
one that
Momo?
I have? Yeah, where is, like, my favorite little furry friend?
Because I'm sorry, you can't have the Avatar gang without Momo.
It doesn't work. And if
Also,
Momo doesn't show up at the beginning of the next episode, I'm gonna be pissed.
Also, the thing about Momo, which I think people need to understand, and if Momo's not in the show, I'm going to also be really pissed, is Momo is supposed to be his own. Momo and Appa and him are the only living relics of the air temples, the air nomads. They are the last together. So he always has his old and his new family. So he's now developed the family with all of them. It just pisses me off. So then we cut to Aang, and they're talking about the mission. And he's like, and Katara says something, when you lose something, it's when you have to learn to fight. And it shows Zuko, and it's like, showing him draw Aang and picture and put it up there. And then Aang's like, I have to do this mission. I have to become the Avatar. And I'm like, and he also claims he's the Avatar at the end of the episode 1. Now, here's my issue with this ending. Aang is supposed to, through the episodes, gain the confidence to be like, I am the Avatar. I need to, like, really own this and learn all the bendings and become the Avatar. Become the Avatar. Especially since, well, Winter Solstice episode, part 1, part 2, we'll get there eventually. That happens, and that causes a lot. But it doesn't work that way in the show. Aang's already like, I'm going to be the Avatar. Aang's whole arc is becoming the Avatar. It's not about him defeating evil. But it feels like
he doesn't
not really
want to be the Avatar. At the 3 original series, his whole thing is just, I really am the last Airbender.
And that realization doesn't hit him. And that's to me, that's more, if you ended the first episode with him just saying, I am the last Airbender, I would have loved it even more. But like,
yeah, like, if it's like, hey, like, you gotta learn how to fight. But like whatever, like if you just change that scene right at the very end, like after he calms down, it's just like I really am the last Airbender, and it's like it's okay, like we'll figure this out together. You're not alone, kind of deal. If it was something like that, I would have enjoyed the ending of this episode a lot more.
Okay, so that's the end of the episode. I know it's a quick one. We're getting better, everyone. We're getting better.
Yeah. Also, these episodes are going to be slightly shorter because, the content that we're looking at is smaller.
Well, I mean, this episode was 1:10, I think, and the next episode is only 45 minutes.
1:03.
1:03. Thank you. Sorry. I think I looked at it wrong. So,
that's fine.
Ankit, now we get to rate the episode. I hope you're ready.
Cool. Yeah.
So, what do you rate? Well, so, ladies and gentlemen, usually we rate the original stuff, but Ankit and I love the original so much, we're not going to rate the episodes of the original because I feel like we'd be way too biased.
It would be very rude of us to rate it to the original because I would argue that this is probably the best animated TV series ever.
Yeah. And we also like, cool. So, what would you rate? What would you rate the show as just a show, not an adaptation of the cartoon? The first episode.
Just a show, I'd give it like a solid 7.
Yeah, I think it was 7 was good. It was average. I was talking to my friend who watched it with me. His name's Ant. He watches our podcast as well and listens to them.
Shout out to Ant.
Shout out to you, Ant. He was saying it was okay. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't as magical as I thought it could have been. So 7. Yeah. Okay. As an adaptation, I will give it a 6.9.
Really?
I think it has a lot of promise. That's why I'm giving it a 6.9. I think it has a lot of promise. I think it missed a lot of stuff, but I think it has a lot of promise of where it could go.
I think it has a lot of promise of where it could go. So I understand your 6.9 for that reason.
I don't want to give it less yet.
Sure.
Like
I'm looking at it more of, so you're looking at it kind of as a holistic, like, how is this?
Yeah.
When I was thinking about, the rating for this episode, I was thinking more along the lines of, all right, this episode 1 covers the first 3 episodes. Mm-hmm. And I would give it probably like a 6. Because I think they got a lot right. But I think the biggest issue I have with it is a few of these hiccups that we've talked about of like, Aang isn't supposed to know that there's a war. Like that's a big hiccup that you can't get over. They've cut certain aspects of arcs. Like, they cut Sokka's arc of, as we discussed, his like, sexism arc. And it's like, there are still people in the world now that think that way. So why are we scared of showing that on TV and showing the evolution of like, hey, you might be thinking this way, but like understand that like it's not a good way to be thinking. Right?
Yeah.
Like things like that. But the biggest thing for me and the reason that I don't want to give it more than a 6 is they cut out all the comedy.
I agree. I just didn't want to give it a C. I felt like it was more of like a D+, D. You gave it a D-.
Sure,
but that's fair.
You do. I mean, I also gave it a D. You also gave it a D with the 6.9. Based on the American scaling system, a 6.9, 69% is a D.
D+.
Sure.
A 60% is a D-.
Yeah, I didn't think that they... But, like, that's the biggest issue that I have right now, and I'm hoping that that changes. Because, like, the whole thing is... Like, the whole reason Katara is on Aang's side is that Aang brings them laughter for the first time in ages.
Yeah.
Like, it's the first time that they've been laughing since, for almost as long as she can remember. So, we don't see any of that laughter. We don't see what Aang is bringing to the world. We don't see the hope from the beginning of what Aang's coming back even entails. even with the Southern Water Tribe. So that's why I'm at a 6. I'm hoping that it gets significantly better. I see the potential in it, but I'm just not there yet.
All right, so that was the end of our first episode. We gave a rating. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with? What are your ratings of the first episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Tell us why in the comments down below. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week for Avatar: The Last Airbender live action episode 2.
From the Netflix series. Bye!
Bye!
Hello, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of Flip the Scripts. Flip the Scripts is created, hosted, and produced by Ankit Madhira and Stephen Nieman. Our editor is Sebastien Hollich, the art is by Kshitija Madhira, and the music is by Sebastien Hollich. If you like the video, you can click to listen to the next part, or if it's not out yet, you can find one of our previous episodes.
Or if you want to check out some of our other content, here's a fun video from another one of our shows.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, comment, and hit that bell icon to get notified of all of our content when it releases.
Subscribe to our Patreon if you want bonus content.
Links to all of our social media and Patreon are in the episode description down below.
Thank you for supporting our content. Come back next week for more shenanigans from Co-op Forge.
New episodes for Flip the Scripts release every Friday, Seattle Across the Pond every other Thursday, and post finale every Wednesday. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.
Bye now.